In this video, I'm going to introduce the C libcurl library, which allows us to send HTTP requests and allows us to do all kinds of other client-side network programming. Now, the libcurl library actually comes with Xcode on a Mac. You may actually find that it's already part of your development environment. If you don't have it already, you might have to go to the website and this download page here to get it. I'll post a link in the video description. Now I'm going to go over the absolute basics of the API. We'll use this easy interface to send an HTTP request. I'll cover other functionalities in future videos. So let's go to our editor here. So the first thing we'll do is include the curl library with #include curl/curl.h. Then we'll declare a curl pointer variable. We'll have here curl *curl. And we'll use this a bit like a file handle when accessing files. We'll also declare a curl code variable. We'll have here curl code result. We'll use this variable to store a return value from one of the curl API functions. Now, using the curl API is a little bit like accessing a file in the sense that we're given a set of functions that we're supposed to call in a particular order, and we use a handle to help us manage our curl HTTP request. So the first thing we'll do is call curl easy init. And this function is going to return a curl handle. We'll have here curl is equal to store this handle. We'll use this handle to help us create and manage the request. Now it's possible that curl easy init could fail. If it does, it's going to return null. We'll check for that. We'll have here if curl is equal to null, this means the function failed. In that case, we're going to return -1 as an error status. We'll also output to standard error that the HTTP request failed. So we'll have std err and then HTTP request failed. Next, we'll call the curl easy setup function. So here we'll have curl and then easy set opt. So this function is used to set all the options for the HTTP request. And at a minimum, you need to set the URL where the request is going to occur. So here we'll pass in the handle as the first argument. We'll pass in the constant curl opt_URL as the second argument. And that's basically the option that we're actually setting. And we're going to set the URL for the request to https://www.google.com. And now the request is going to occur to https://www.google.com. Then we'll call the curl easy perform function to actually carry out the request. So we'll have here curl easy perform, and we'll pass it curl, and this is going to actually carry out the request that we've set up. The function is going to return a curl code value. We'll store that into our result variable. Then we'll check it, because the function should return curl_OK if the request was OK. So we'll have here, if the result does not equal curl_OK, that means something went wrong with the request. In that case, we'll return -1 as an error status, and we'll output an error message. We'll have here fprintf, and again, we'll output the error message to standard error with std err. We'll output here error : and then %s to output a string, followed by a new line. Now there's a function called curl easy strError, and this function, when passed result, is going to give us back a string representing the error that occurred. So we'll have curl easy strError, and we'll pass it result. Then we'll call the curl easy cleanup function. The function is going to close this curl easy API session, a bit like closing a file. So here we'll have curl and then easy cleanup, and we'll pass it curl to close the easy API session. So then if we save our program and compile it, when compiling it, we'll have to use a special linker option. For me, it's -l curl, and then we'll have -o d and d.c, and that's going to compile the program. Then if we run it, we'll get here the response from our request to google.com. So we have successfully used the API to send an HTTP request. Now by default, the curl easy perform function is just going to output the response to standard output, which in our case is the terminal. More typically though, we would like to store the response into a string so we can work with the response later. We could do that. That is a bit more involved. I'll show you at a very high level how that works now, and I'll cover this in detail in a future video. So up here, I'm going to paste in a new struct definition and a new function. The function is called write memory callback, and the function is going to be called repeatedly by curl easy perform. And each time the function is called, it's going to receive a new chunk of the response string. The function is going to use dynamic memory allocation and realloc to concatenate that string to a string that's pointed to by this memory member of a struct memory struct variable. Then in main, we'll declare a struct memory struct variable called chunk, where the memory member is going to point to the response string on the heap. We initially allocate 1 byte of space for that response string, but the write memory callback function is going to continually expand that space on the heap. Then down here, we'll set some new options. Here we're using curl easy set op to have the curl easy perform function call the write memory callback function with each chunk of the response string. And this call to curl easy set opt is setting up this function to use our chunk struct memory struct variable to actually store the response string. Then down here, we're going to free the dynamically allocated memory with free chunk.memory. Before we do this, we'll output the response string that chunk.memory points to. So we'll have printf and then %s with an arrow here and response string and a new line. And then we'll have chunk.memory to output the string. So we'll save this and then we'll recompile our program and we'll run it. And we'll get the response string as output, but this time it's because we're choosing to print it. We stored the response string in memory and we could do whatever we want with it at that point, like parse it, for example. The curl easy perform function is no longer going to automatically output the response string to standard output because we've supplied our own callback write function. So the libcurl library is a relatively easy way of making HTTP requests and doing other client-side network programming in C, especially compared to other lower level approaches. I'll cover more of the library functionalities in future videos. For now, this has been an introduction to the libcurl library in C. Check out portfoliocourses.com, where we'll help you build a portfolio that will impress employers, including courses to help you develop C programming projects.